Welcome back to Module 8, our second part on general safety in the workplace. Let's now look at the handling, using and storage of chemicals. Personal protective equipment plays a vital role in protecting you against any possible exposure against chemicals. Whether you use or handle chemicals, make sure you wear the correct personal protective equipment for the likely hazard, such as aprons, gloves, and so forth. As there can be chemical residues present in all sorts of places and on many surfaces, you should wash your hands frequently, especially before you eat, drink, smoke, or use the toilet. Only use chemicals for the intended purpose. Do not clean or wash any part of your body or your clothes with any chemical or solvent. Chemicals must always be in approved containers and stored separately according to type, for example acids, alkaline, oxidizing agents, and flammables. Never mix chemicals without permission from your supervisor, and only dispose of chemicals in approved containers. Some companies only allow a limited volume of chemicals and flammables. Check with your safety representative which rules apply to your workplace regarding the use of chemicals. We turn our attention now to injuries and incidences on duty. Even though your company takes all reasonable measures to ensure your safety, it's still possible that you can be injured at your workplace. Should you be involved in any incident that may affect your health, or in an accident resulting in an injury, no matter how small the injury, you have to report it to a responsible person. If your company has an on-site medical center, obtain proper treatment there. If a fellow worker is injured, obtain medical help as soon as possible. Only move injured persons enough to prevent further injury. Your cooperation may be required to investigate any injury or illness that occurred on your company's premises. Accidents can, however, be prevented if you take positive action wherever possible. If an accident occurred, see if you can prevent it from occurring again. Next, we will discuss personal protective equipment. PPE comprises of all the equipment that can protect you from the risk of injury by creating a barrier against workplace hazards. Examples of PPE are hard hats, overalls, goggles, hearing protection, safety shoes, and respirators. Employees who are exposed to certain hazards will be issued with PPE. Make sure you are supplied with all the necessary PPE for your workplace. You should wear your PPE at all times where safety signs indicate you to do so, as it's there for your personal protection. Beware of their limitations though, as PPE can only protect you up to a certain degree. If you are a user of PPE, you should wear your personal protective equipment as required. Attend training sessions at your company. Care, clean and maintain your PPE. And inform your supervisor when your equipment needs to be repaired or replaced. You are not allowed to alter or misuse any personal protective equipment. You can learn more about PPE in another video in this series. Let's now look at general fire prevention. Fire prevention is one of the most important facets of safety. Everybody has a responsibility to prevent fires and practice good housekeeping. The size, construction, and location of your workplace and the amount and type of flammable articles on the premises will determine the location and type of fire equipment your employer will supply. Make sure you know where the fire equipment is located in your workplace and how to use this equipment safely. Always clearly mark and never obstruct the area around fire equipment. Firefighting equipment should be regularly inspected and damage or faults reported. Abusing, tampering and misusing fire and safety equipment are strictly prohibited. Smoking has been the cause of many serious fires. Therefore, smoke only in demarcated zones where there will be ashtrays or receptacles provided for you. Never discard or extinguish cigarettes or pipe ash in a refuse bin. Clean any small spillages of flammable liquids. Use the correct recycling bins. Dispose of solvent rags in refuse drums. For flammable solvents such as oil, petrol and so forth, always use the correct safety container. These containers must be stored in a flammable lockup cabinet during non-production hours. Report any damaged safety containers to your supervisor. Never store solvents in open or plastic containers, and never handle solvents close to possible ignition sources. Ensure that drip trays and earthing straps are used where required. If your company uses a sprinkler system, never stack stock within 1 meter of the sprinkler heads. Report all fires immediately. It's very important that you know the emergency procedure of your company, as well as where exits and assembly points are located. Creating false alarms or activating any fire alarm without a valid reason is strictly prohibited. Fire equipment can save your life if you know how to use it properly. However, get out if a fire gets out of control. Do not try to extinguish it yourself. Most of all, prevent fires. We turn our attention now to motorized transport. You're not allowed to drive any company vehicle without a valid driver's license. Before using a company vehicle, you have to inspect the vehicle first. You are responsible for that vehicle and must ensure that it remains in a good, clean and safe condition. Report defects immediately to your supervisor. If your company uses a daily log sheet, make sure you complete the sheet. You may only use company vehicles for legitimate company business and not for private use. Always ensure that loads in transport are safe and secure before driving off. Never exceed the maximum loading or towing capacity of a vehicle. Drivers must obey all on-site traffic rules. Forklift trucks must be driven backwards when you are carrying a bulky load that could obscure your vision when traveling forward. Always back down with a forklift truck when driving down ramps to prevent material on forks from slipping. When operating a forklift truck, always be alert for pedestrians, overhead clearances, and other vehicles. Never leave the engine of a machine running unattended. No passengers are allowed on any vehicles that are not designed to carry passengers. This includes vehicles such as forklift trucks, scrubbers, bicycles, etc. Let's now look at environmental issues. In this day and age, the environment should be protected at all cost. It's therefore the policy of any company to continually strive for the prevention of pollution and to improve upon their environmental performance. You are required to comply with the Environmental Conservation Program, the ISO 14001. Refuse containers are suitably marked by type of waste. For recycling purposes, dump the waste into the correct containers. Don't leave rubbish lying around to become a hazard or create pollution. Flammable and toxic liquids must be properly disposed of. Ask your supervisor for instructions on where to dispose of such substances if required. Do not dispose of substances including oil, petrol, thinners, or any other pollutant into drains or onto the bare ground, as this goes against environmental principles. Report any spills without delay to your supervisor. Help conserve water, close water taps properly after use, and report any leaks promptly. We turn our attention now to office safety. Safety does not only apply to workshops and plants, but also to offices. Most of us believe that the office is essentially a safe place. This is incorrect. There are many hazards in an office. Falls are the most common cause of injuries in the workplace. Don't use passages and stairways as temporary storage places. Also, keep refuse bins where they won't create a trip hazard. Always close drawers and make sure furniture is placed in such a way that people won't walk into them. Don't use chairs as ladders. Being tidy doesn't necessarily mean being safe, but untidy is certainly unsafe. In particular, it can create a fire hazard. Let's now look at general dress code. Certain clothes and accessories can create a safety risk. Always wear safety shoes where you are indicated by safety signs to do so. Sandals or flimsy shoes with open toes or high heels are not allowed in most work areas. If you have long hair, keep your hair completely covered when you are working with moving machinery. When working on moving machinery, you're also not allowed to wear any loose-fitting clothing or any jewelry. You should always dress neatly and portray a professional image. All the rules and procedures we've discussed are there for your safety. Your company will have rules specifically designed for your work area. Check with your safety officer. This concludes our series on general safety in the workplace. Remember, you have the same responsibility as your employer to create safe working conditions. The best possible safety device is a safe worker.